Disclaimer: the following program is designed to offend, provoke, and challenge your religious sensibilities. It contains content that will likely offend anyone who holds religion sacred. This is for those with thick skin or a taste for the harsh truth. If you're easily offended or cherish your religious views, please turn off now. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. You have been warned. Welcome back to Troll the Verse, where we don't just read the Bible, we aggressively question why anyone still takes it seriously. Today we're dissecting Genesis 24, the longest chapter in the entire book. And what do we get for sticking it out? A testicle oath, a cross-country camel expedition, and the most awkward matchmaking ritual since your grandma tried to set you up with a cousin at a funeral. Yes, this is the epic story of how Isaac gets a wife without doing a damn thing. His dad handles the arrangements, his servant takes the oath, and some poor girl ends up married to a guy she's never met because she was nice to his camels. And before you get too cozy thinking this is a sweet love story, no, it's not. It's a tribal land contract disguised as romance. It's pure patriarchy and a side of gatekeeping. So grab a drink, grab your nearest translator, and maybe don't grab anyone's thigh. Let's break down the fun stuff in Genesis 24, starting with Abraham's final testicle-powered command: get me a cousin and make sure she's not Canaanite, and go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, or don't. But we're doing this either way. Also, check out the playlist on the channel if you enjoy this breakdown. There's plenty more. Let's get into it. We open on Abraham in full legacy panic mode. Old, brittle, and desperate to lock in the bloodline before he keels over. So he calls in the most senior guy in his house, probably Eleazar of Damascus, the former heir before Isaac showed up. This man used to be next in line for everything. Now, he's being sent on a long-distance wife-fetching errand for the golden boy who replaced him. If Eleazar has any feelings about that, the text doesn't care. Loyalty only. And then Abraham says it, put your hand under my thigh, which, let's be honest, is almost certainly a euphemism for grabbing the covenant testicles. You're swearing on the source of the chosen seed, literally holding the future of the promise in your hand. Because nothing says sacred vow like cupping your boss's junk while he makes you promise to import a cousin bride. But not just any wife. She must not, under any circumstance, be a Canaanite. God forbid the promised line mix with the locals. Suddenly, the people who live in the very land God allegedly gave Abraham are beneath covenant standards. We're skipping past the women in the promised land to go bride hunting in the land of idolatry. Instead, the servant is sent on a multi-day desert trek back to Mesopotamia, to my land and my kindred, Paran, where Abraham's extended family still lives. Yes, the same pagan idol-worshipping clan he supposedly left behind in obedience to Yahweh, but now, magically, that bloodline is preferred. Why? Because it's family. In other words, race over religion, bloodline over belief, priorities. Then the servant, being I guess a semi-rational person, asks, what if she doesn't want to move here? Should I bring Isaac to her instead? And Abraham immediately goes full territorial paranoia. Absolutely not. Under no circumstances is Isaac allowed to leave Canaan, not even for a quick meet and greet. Why? Because Yahweh made a land deal, and that land deal must be protected at all costs. Abraham's logic is basically, if Isaac leaves, even temporarily, it might spiritually forfeit the deed. So he'd rather Isaac stay single forever than take one step outside the holy zip code. So to be clear, for people who don't follow, well, nothing wrong with that, but just making sure you understand. Some people have complained that I talk too fast and that I need to go slower. Not a problem. The servant is going to Mesopotamia, to Abraham's extended family in Haran, to find a woman. But Isaac must stay locked in Canaan, even if it means dying alone. Abraham is terrified that Isaac might go visit the homeland and think, hey, this is actually kind of nice, and stay there, which would, in his mind, ruin the covenant. Isaac is being treated like a sacred chess piece in a land negotiation. He doesn't get to weigh in. He doesn't meet his future wife. He doesn't travel. He doesn't even speak. His father is arranging this whole marriage like he's ordering breeding stock. The bride comes to him, or there is no deal. And with that, Eleazar swears the oath, with one hand under the thigh of his ex-boss who demoted him from heir to marriage courier, and sets off on the most uncomfortable romantic errand in all of Scripture. Now, the servant packs up 10 camels, because I guess this is how divine matchmaking looks, a luxury caravan, and a sack of all the goods of his lord. The text is making sure you know this isn't just a mission, it's a mobile dowry and covenant delivery system. Jewelry, wealth, prestige, it's all baked into the pitch. Oh, and according to rabbinic tradition, Abraham's camels were muzzled so they wouldn't graze in other people's fields, because even in a foreign land, Abraham wants his animals to follow ethical real estate laws. And where does he go? Aram Naharaim, so Mesopotamia, specifically the city of Nahor. That's Abraham's brother. We're zeroing in on the family tree with surgical precision. Forget love, attraction, or personal compatibility. This is about locking in the right bloodline with camel-assisted efficiency. He stops at the city's water source at eventide, the hour when the local women come out to draw water. This is not a coincidence. It's deliberate positioning. Wells were the ancient Near Eastern version of social media. This is where the unmarried women would be. It's essentially biblical Bumble, but instead of swiping right, he's praying for a woman who will overperform for strangers and livestock. Now let's just pause here for a minute and talk about these camels. There's a small issue with the camels themselves. Here's the thing. Camels weren't domesticated in this part of the world until around the 9th or 8th century BCE, long after Abraham supposedly lived. This creates a major historical anachronism. You're telling me that Abraham, living around 2000 BCE, was rolling with a luxury camel caravan? Nice idea, but the timing doesn't work. Camels weren't used for long-distance travel back then, so either the camels are just historical filler for the story, or someone's timeline is off. It raises the question, how reliable is this chapter as a historically accurate account? Is it possible this chapter was written much later after camels had made their entrance? I'll answer that for you. Yes, it's possible, because it's all fake. The entire Bible is fake garbage, but I'll continue for the sake of the morons that still believe this crap. All right, then we get the actual test. Let the girl who not only gives me water, but also waters all my camels be the one. Not a good character, not the one with a kind heart, no. The one who volunteers for manual labor after a long day of chores, that's the divine signer. And let's talk logistics for a second. Camels drink a ton, like 20 to 25 gallons each. This is 10 camels. That's 200 to 250 gallons of water. This guy is literally praying for a woman who will voluntarily refill a small lake for desert beasts she doesn't know. Not let her say something insightful, not let her praise Yahweh, not let her be ridiculously over-accommodating. This isn't just kindness, it's a feats of strength competition disguised as chivalry. Also, this is one of the earliest recorded prayers for divine guidance in the Bible. Eliezer isn't sacrificing anything or having a vision, he's just asking for a very specific, observable sign. And some traditions even claim the journey itself was miraculously shortened, a divine fast travel event. Because when God wants you to marry your cousin from 500 miles away, matchmaking comes with express delivery. And the prayer? Notice who it's addressed to in verse 12. Jehovah, God of my Lord Abraham. Not my God, not our God. It's very much, I work for the guy you talk to. Eliezer never claims personal faith. This whole thing is a transaction based on Abraham's relationship with God, not his own. So in one move, he's outsourcing divine decision-making to camel-based behavior metrics and hoping Yahweh is into service industry piety. So this is the entire compatibility test. Offers water to strangers, volunteers for exhausting unpaid animal care, lives in the right town, and is female. So that's the list. If she passes, she gets a nose ring and a destiny. Before the servant even finishes speaking, and wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, Rebecca shows up. Like, mid-prayer. He's still talking to God, and God's already cueing the answer. It's so perfectly timed, it's almost comedic. You can practically hear Yahweh going, say less. And who is this girl? She's got the pedigree and the looks. Rebecca is introduced with a full genealogy roll call. Daughter of Bethuel, granddaughter of Nahor, Abraham's brother, and descended through Milcah, so not some side chick, but the actual wife. So now we've got an approved bloodline. We can check that box off. Also, let's not miss how much the verse emphasizes her physical appearance and virgin status. Very good appearance, a man hath not known her, because obviously, in the world of covenant matchmaking, her uterus must be both beautiful and unused. The text cares more about her reproductive purity than anything else about her character. Then she walks to the well, draws water, and here comes Eliezer sprinting to intercept her. Not strolling, not approaching casually, running. Dude sees one hot girl with a pitcher and nearly breaks into a touchdown dive. Let me swallow, I pray thee, a little water from thy pitcher. And Rebecca, oh, she's an absolute overachiever. Not only did she give him a drink, she immediately offers to water all 10 camels. No hesitation, no questions, no visible signs of judgment like, why is this dusty man watching me with intense eyes? She just throws herself into full desert waitress mode. And then we get the action montage. She runs to draw more water. She empties the pitcher. She runs again. Rebecca is a beast. No conversation, no small talk, just a one-woman hospitality for a random stranger and a squad of camels. Meanwhile, Eliezer is just standing there silently staring at her, wondering if this is from God or not. Like, dude, she just did exactly what you asked for in your weird camel hydration prayer, down to the detail with Olympic-level cardio. What are you waiting for? A dove descending with a scroll in its beak? Finally, the camels finish drinking, which probably took a very long time, and Eliezer breaks the silence by pulling out the bling. 1 golden ring and 2 bracelets worth 10 becas of gold, so roughly 100 grams total. So we're not talking your grandma's fake costume jewelry here. He's handing her a mini gold bar just for doing some cardio. Then he asks the big question. Whose daughter are you? Not what's your name, not what do you like to do, just let's see if your bloodline matches the one in my spreadsheet. Rebecca confirms. She says, I'm from Bethuel. Milcah bore him to Nahor. So bingo. It's like the divineancestry.com page loaded instantly. And if that weren't enough, she throws in a little bonus for Eliezer. She says, we've got food, straw, and a place for you to crash. This girl doesn't just pass the test, she speed runs it with extra credit. Eliezer's reaction? Immediate meltdown. He bows, does full-on obeisance to Yahweh, and basically starts praising God like he just won the lottery. Blessed is Jehovah, God of my Lord Abraham. Jehovah hath led me to the house of my Lord's brethren. But notice again, still not my God, always God of my Lord Abraham. Eliezer remains firmly in servant mode. He sees himself as an instrument of Abraham's relationship with God, not a participant in it. But he's clearly stunned. The ridiculous test worked. The prayer was answered instantly. The camels are hydrated. The girl is hot, single, pure, and perfectly pedigreed. Mission almost accomplished. Rebecca finishes watering 10 camels and immediately runs home to tell her family, like any teenage girl who just got surprised engaged to a sweaty stranger at a well. But notice the detail. She runs to the house of her mother, not the father's house. In patriarchal Genesis, that's a weird little signal. Either Bethuel is useless, absent, or already sidelined, because from here on out, the real negotiating happens with her brother, Laban. So Laban enters the scene, and he's running. Not because he's excited his sister met a nice man. Oh no. Verse 30 makes it hilariously clear. He sees the ring, he sees the bracelets, then he runs to meet the guy. He doesn't even wait for the full story. Gold means go. This is peak Laban energy. He'll pull this exact trick again later with Jacob. This man's nose can sniff out wealth like a bloodhound in a jewelry store. So he runs to the well, finds Eliezer standing by his entourage of camels, and immediately flips into hyper hospitality mode, just like his sister Rebecca. Come in, O blessed one of Jehovah, which is rich considering he just met the guy and only knows that he's loaded. This isn't faith, it's transactional flattery wrapped in religious vocabulary. He doesn't say, welcome traveler. He says, blessed of Yahweh, because nothing says sincere hospitality like using God's name to butter up the guy with money. Honestly, the rest of this is pretty boring. Nothing much else happens, so I'll give you a quick summary instead of wasting your time and mine. He gives Laban and Bethuel the full slideshow. Basically, Abraham's rich, Sarah had a miracle baby, I swore an oath, I made a prayer, Rebecca passed the camel test, boom, gold, God, done. Laban and Bethuel, they fold instantly, saying basically, sure, we'll sell our daughter if it's God approved and comes with jewelry. So Eliezer busts out more treasure like it's a bridal registry. Silver, gold, clothes, and bonus gifts for the mom and brother. Everybody eats, sleeps, and celebrates until Eliezer says, "All right, we're leaving," and Laban tries to stall for 10 more days, probably hoping Eliezer will drop even more gold if they drag it out. But Eliezer's on a mission. They finally ask Rebekah, and she says, "I go." No hesitation, no debate. Just camel up and go. Either she's bold or brainwashed. Rebekah arrives, veils up like a bride in a gross Hallmark movie, and meets Isaac, who's busy meditating in a field because this man clearly needs therapy. They go into Sarah's tent, yes, mom's tent, and Isaac marries her and is instantly comforted over his dead mother, which is not weird at all. Let's be real, this entire chapter is a fictional fairy tale wrapped in goat hair tent drama. We're supposed to believe God sent Eliezer on a divine matchmaking quest across hundreds of miles, but forgot that camels weren't even domesticated in that region during Abraham's time. Oops. It's almost, dare I say it, like this was written much later by people who didn't care about historical accuracy because they were too busy manufacturing covenant propaganda. There's no divine love story here. Just transactional tribal politics, gender roles on hard mode, and a sprinkle of magical thinking to keep the illusion alive. But hey, if you ever need to justify marrying your cousin because of a talking well and 10 thirsty camels, Genesis 24 has your back. Up next, we'll see if Isaac actually does anything besides mourn and meditate. Probably not, but I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.